For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini, and recently all school-age children across Ontario were given rapid tests to take home with them for the Christmas break. I suppose under the guise of health and safety for families doing their holiday gatherings. They were instructed to test their asymptomatic children every few days. And so I have been able to gather up some of these tests, and I wanted to conduct my own little at-home experiment using non-mammal items. So here in front of me, I have some Balkan-style yogurt, Astro Original. It is full 6% fat, no gelatin, so there's some bacteria in there, some bacterial cultures. So that's in this little dish here. I have some high-quality decanted well water. It has not run through a reverse osmosis system. It has, however, been filtered by both a UV light and a charcoal filter, and also runs through a salt softening system. I also have some raw meat here. So I did a little poll on Twitter to see who and what kind of objects people would like to see tested. And in those options, there was a cat. However, I have decided that in the interest of doing harm to animals, I will not be testing my cat. However, we do feed the cat raw food. He's on a raw diet. And so I've taken some of his food as a sampling. It's a mixture of like raw salmon, some kelp, I think there's chicken liver, a bunch of different mixes in there. So we'll test that. And then of course, a small piece here of cantaloupe. In these kits, so you have the rapid response test itself, comes in this little package, which I've opened them to set it all up. Here you are. And I didn't actually get the package insert from the people that I've collected these tests from because they kept some for themselves on the off chance that they needed it. So I have been able to look up the instructions here online, and these are rapid response tests by BTNX Inc. The expiry dates are not until the year 2023, so they're in good standing. And so I have my little laboratory set up here. So you're given a little tube and you pour this liquid into each of these little tubes. I've put it in a shot glass in the nature of sterility. My hands are washed for 20 seconds in warm soapy water. So I've done the other three. So I'm just going to open this little tube here and show you. So you take this and then you pour it into these test tubes. And I'm sure we will speed some of this process up as well because I have to wait. All in all, it will take about 20 minutes to complete this experiment. So there's the liquid now in this tube. I'm going to just place it back in there. And so I have 4 swabs. So they have not been opened yet. Peel here. I'm going to peel that. And so you take your swab and you're supposed to twist it in the medium for about 15 seconds. So I'm testing the yogurt first. There we are. I've tested the yogurt, and then I'm going to put it into this tube, and I'm going to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. Press the tube against the wall about 15 times. So all right, and then you push on it, I guess, a couple times to really get all of that juices flowing. And then you leave it for 2 minutes. And I'm going to just make sure I have the timing correct. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Well water will be the second test subject. Next, we have the raw cat food. This will be a joy. I'm excited. All right. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. That might be too chunky. I don't know. Let's see. This looks so gross. All right. And last but not least, we have the cantaloupe. Okay, so pinch it again. And we're supposed to use some biohazardous waste disposal post nasal swab discarding. So we're gonna do that. Oh, that one had to sit for 2 minutes, sorry. All right, cantaloupe. Okay, so it's been about 2 minutes. Yep, it's been 2 minutes. So the yogurt, we're going to take the swab and you kind of pinch it and pull, is what the instruction read. And then you put this dropper cap on the end of that tube. So I've done that. And then you firmly attach. So you turn it down over the circle sample well on the test strip and you gently squeeze the tube to put 3 drops into the sample well. So I am going to put 3 drops into this sample well for the yogurt. 1, 2, 3. All right, so there's the yogurt. And I will start my timer for 15 minutes as we move on to the next sample. So this is the well water. Okay, so we have 15 minutes to wait now for these test results. It took me about a minute to do all of that, so each sample will be about 15 seconds behind the last one, which the timing should work out well. So the timer is on now, and we wait. So while we're waiting, I'm just going to read a few segments of the product monograph and the instructions. It notes that if your result is negative, it is less likely that you have COVID-19, but you may resume your daily activities while continuing to follow public health advice. If your result is positive, you may have COVID-19. You may have. You should get a laboratory test at an assessment center or community lab as soon as possible to confirm your result. Immediately, self-isolate until you receive your laboratory test result. And if your test is not valid, you should repeat the test using a new swab and a new test strip. The reading of the results, so there should be, it's essentially like a pregnancy test. So there should be a line to show that the test is completed. And if there is a line on the control, so that's the control line, that will show that the test is completed. And there's a test line. And so if that is present, that means the result is positive. If the control line is not present, the result is not valid. So part of this rapid response test is using an interior nasal swabbing, or you can do a deep nasal swab. So the interior is more so just the most inner section of your nasal cavity, or of course the deep touch your brain swab. And it says that if you have any COVID-19 symptoms, do not use this test. Or you have been exposed to someone with COVID-19, do not use this test and instead get tested as a designated testing location or community lab. So this is specifically for asymptomatic people, despite the fact that a video that I did, which highlighted Byron Bridle's speech on the rapid antigen testing, that these tests have not actually been ever studied or tested or approved for asymptomatic people. So this is interesting. You're supposed to find a clean area free of foods, drinks, or clutter, and an easy to clean space. So I've just basically tested food and water. You're supposed to blow your nose and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds prior to being the test subject. Of course, I assembled the materials, so that test strip, a liquid buffer vial, so that was those little ones that I poured into these tubes, the cap, the dropper cap, and then of course the cups and the swabs. So we have about 8 minutes remaining, and it looks like all of my tests are negative, which is great. That's a great sign that none of these non-mammalian subjects have provided a quick positive. I think that at this point, the consensus is that it would have already shown up. However, I'm going to wait the 15 minutes and just make sure. Oh, actually here it says that you should dispose of the materials in the garbage and wash your hands. Whereas the video linked, which provides tips on the nasal swab and how to conduct this little at-home experiment on actual people, mind you, that noted that you should use a biohazard bin. So this is interesting. There seems to be some conflicting information here in terms of how you should actually dispose of this potentially highly contaminated material if we're really in a pandemic and it's truly as contagious as the media and their TV doctors claim it to be. About 6 minutes left. Still showing negatives. So there's a lot online, right, where people are posting these little experiments and they've tested like citrus fruits and mandarins and oranges, and they're saying that these tests are coming back positive. So I wanted to take it upon myself and do the same and for fun, see what happened. It looks like a negative result, and we have clearly recorded the whole thing. So I'd love to see someone who actually recorded themselves from start to finish and that they conducted this experiment, you know, following as closely as possible the directions without actually swabbing someone's nasal cavity, to see if these are accurate reports happening to food items. Maybe I didn't test the best things. Maybe I should have got some mandarins or oranges. I had high hopes for the cat food, though, the raw meat. There's a lot of things lurking in there, I'm sure. And maybe even the yogurt with its bacterial cultures. I guess bacteria, viruses, obviously are two different things. So 5 minutes left on the clock. We're still looking really negative here. None of my objects are positive for pregnancy with COVID. Oh, and this video doesn't actually depict self-swabbing, which I suppose you were supposed to do. That would be really hard to get so far back. I would have to do the interior. Maybe I should have tested myself. But then I'd have to post it. And if I was positive, I just wouldn't even want to have to do that. And I couldn't bring myself to do my poor little cat. I looked in his nose, and his little nostril is so small. And I mean, these aren't large swabs, but I couldn't bring myself to subject my poor little kitten to this experiment. No animals were harmed in the conducting of this experiment, so I put myself at ease for that. Now, I've also heard a lot of grumblings online that families are requiring anyone visiting their home over the holidays for dinners or gatherings to partake in this rapid antigen test prior to arriving at their home, which, your home, that's your call. But are people actually are you supposed to do this standing at the door and waiting to get into your loved one's home? Do this whole thing and I guess wait 15 minutes in your car before you can enter their house? Or will it satisfy them if you do this, an hour prior to coming? I mean, the logic here just is a little bit crazy to me, especially considering that this is for asymptomatic people. It was never approved or tested in asymptomatic people and can literally be positive one day and negative the next, or vice versa. So I think a lot of these things are maybe just a false sense of security to put people who may have unfounded fear at ease. And despite all of this, our cases are higher than they were last year when there were no readily available vaccines. The government continues to censor and squash and smear anyone advocating for early treatment options in the name of protocol and policies being put out on patient and care and treatment. So we have about 23 seconds left here. I'm going to come a little bit closer and I will show you the results. So maybe we'll do a countdown for the last 10. So we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we are. The timer goes off. Okay. So we have the yogurt. It's a negative. We have the well water, also a negative. Raw meat, high hopes for this one, but it's negative. And the beloved cantaloupe, it's negative. So thank you for sitting this one with me and watching as I conducted this real-time experiment using the rapid response tests that were given out to all school-age children in Ontario. I think anywhere from 3 to 5 tests were given per household, per child, using the BTNX Inc. Rapid Response COVID-19 Antigen Rapid Test Device. Please let me know if you have had different results and if you have documentation to prove that you have conducted the experiment and seen it through as per the product monograph and the instructions. Of course, bypassing an actual nasal swab if you're testing other objects. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. This video proves that vaccine passports are useless because Pfizer's own data shows that the injections were never designed to stop transmission. We've been actively opposing vaccine passports for months. You can find out more at fightvaccinepassports.com and donate to our legal initiative if you're able to. Your donations don't come to Rebel, they go directly to the registered charity called the Democracy Fund, which then funds litigation to resist the madness that comprises of non-evidence-based mandates like vaccine passports. You can find out all about that and more at fightvaccinepassports.com.